So, first of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Kiln. Now, the Kiln is, we are 6 locals, ex-locals, and adopted locals who have come together because we're passionate about Worcester and about Worcestershire. And we've come together because we want to create a space in which techie people, creative people, and makers, so that's people who actually do something, come together to create new ideas, new projects, and start exciting things. And this is the first of a series of monthly events that we're going to be holding. Now, our ultimate aim is to create a co-working space in Worcester in which all these wonderful things can happen. But to take us on our journey, and we'd like you to join us on that journey, we're going to hold a series of events over the coming months that will build support and help us to understand actually what we need to create in the city. So I'd like to introduce you, first of all, to our 6 founder members, I guess, of the Kiln. And let me pass across to Sarah, who is one of our key members, to introduce us.
Thanks, Jamie. Given that I'm wearing a dress, I'm not going to try and jump onto this box. Could be very undignified. So I'm Sarah. I grew up 4 doors down from this chap. We have known each other since we launched all kinds of weird childhood startups like coloured Tipex, members clubs. We were total nerds, let's be honest.
Our radio station.
Radio station, very important. We were hustling and hacking long before it was fashionable, when nobody would be our friend. So there's 2 of us. There is Will over here, who is Jamie's brother. There is Seb here, who works for the NHS.
Hello.
Hamish and Greg, put your hands up. Who work, they're founders of FA Creates, who are a local kind of creative agency. So we are very much the 6 founding members. This is just an idea we got really excited about, but these spaces are by us and for us, and we're here tonight to kind of really launch this as a notion, get your feedback. And as Jamie said, we see this as being a space for entrepreneurs, creatives, freelancers, startups, all sorts. So really, tonight is all about you. It's all about us learning about you, you learning about us, you learning about each other. I think everyone I've met so far tonight already knows everybody else. I think it's just me that doesn't know anybody, apart from Jamie. So I think we've got 3 amazing speakers tonight, and I can't believe I just called myself amazing. That's quite embarrassing. You'll be hearing from 3 of us about the topic of getting started. And first of all, I'd love to understand, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs so far tonight, people who have their own company already. Can you put your hands up if you're one of those people?
Wow.
Great. Can you put your hands up if you're a freelancer? Great. Can you put your hands up if you really want to quit your job but you haven't yet? Yeah! Whoops. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand it back over to Jamie to introduce our speakers.
This evening we have 3 great speakers. So Sarah will be speaking first, and I will introduce her shortly. We have Matt Lane of Beardbogs, who I will introduce to follow. And we have Jorge of KKE Architects, who I will also introduce to follow. But first, let me, for a sense of occasion, introduce you to Sarah, our first speaker. Now, Sarah is head of Campus London, which is a space based on co-working and a number of other things, which Sarah will tell you about. She's also set up a number of these spaces across the world in a rather glamorous fashion. Sarah runs a program called Campus for Mums, out of campus, as a side project, which is to get mums involved in technology and startups, which I'm sure she'll tell you more about. And also Sarah has been recently voted one of the 100 coolest people in tech. I think it's really nice.
Seems very unlikely.
So please introduce Sarah.
Thanks, Jamie. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I do all day, but I'm also going to tell you a bit about why I do what I do all day. So I joined Google about 4.5 years ago, and I spent most of my 20s. Well, I grew up in Pimville and Pershore, and I do now live in London. Please feel free to hate me. I spent £4 on coffee this morning, so I'm an idiot, obviously. I joined Google about 4.5 years ago, and I spent a lot of my 20s working in journalism and advertising. And when I first joined the startup world in my 30s, I found it really perplexing. You know, particularly for me as an arts graduate, there were very few resources out there. I found it really hard to meet other people that were like me, not technical. And when I first met an investor to ask him for money in my business, he was in Mayfair wearing a suit. I had no idea what I was doing. I was asking for an insane amount of money. And really that's the problem that campus is trying to solve, the building that I run. So with Google, 2 research students who were lucky enough to be doing their PhDs at Stanford, surrounded by a lot of support, a lot of money, Silicon Valley and everything it entails. Having been at Google for 4.5 years now, I do really believe it's a really entrepreneurial business. It's the longest I've spent in any career, let alone any company, so I must be liking it. And campus is pretty unusual. It's a 7-story building right by Silicon Roundabout in London for entrepreneurs. It's an open building, and you can sign up and get a free sort of membership card and kind of check in and check out to the kind of basement workspace. And part of that is around, I think we've all worked in cafes before and had that moment of guilt around, have I really got to buy another coffee? Is everybody overhearing my super confidential phone call? Am I ruining people's days simply by being here? So that's kind of one element. Then there's the events piece, and that's partly, so we were really lucky tonight that these guys were like, have this place for free, it sounds really fun. But having run a lot of events in pubs in my time, often it's really hard. They charge you a lot of money, it doesn't work for every audience, you can't always project on a screen, just stupid things like that. Particularly, increasingly, if we think about events that are for diverse audiences, people that don't drink, for example, going to an event in a pub for them isn't the right thing to do. So last year we hosted about 750 events, and that's things like, this weekend we had a hackathon around African tech. Today we've got 5 different events on, including 16 to 18-year-old kids coming in and being inspired about starting their own company. But to be honest, you don't really go there for the building. You don't really go there for the Google link, although we do a lot of work taking the rest of Google outside. You go there for the people. You go there because you might meet somebody in the coffee shop who could be your co-founder. And that's really what spaces like this are all about. For me, it's all about the community, and that's a word that has been a massive part of my career. If I look at all the weird things I've done, managing clothing shops, writing books, that kind of thing, it's always come back to this notion of people are stronger together. Groups can do what individuals can't. And when you think about communities, a community needs only 2 things to get started, and that's density and willing. So for me, the fact that we're out on a Monday night, it's really cold. The number of people tonight who are like, should I have a drink? I should have a drink, shouldn't I? It's a treat. If you look at the people in this room, that's the density and the willing in the same place. And whether the Kiln ends up being a kind of co-working collaborative space or not, whether it ends up being an event series, people are better together. Whether it's encouraging people to leave their jobs, whether it's encouraging people to keep going after a really bad day. So for me, what I love most about my job, I spend most of my time helping founders grow their companies. Whether that's running things like the boot camp that Mary and I did together recently, whether it's talking to press or policymakers advocating for startups. I've been told I can't say cheerlead for startups anymore because it's too gendered a term, which I disagree with personally. The best privilege of what I do all day is hearing about the good days and the bad days. The good days are great, I love celebrating success, but to be honest, it's not as meaningful as a day when somebody's like, I've had a really bad day, can we talk? I love that because I think a lot of the time you can't go home and share that with your partner. You can't always go home and share that with your team. You need other people you can speak to. And for me, getting started is not the hardest thing. The hardest thing is keeping going. So in terms of tonight, this is the start. This is not the hardest thing we're going to do for the Kiln. The hardest thing is very much the keeping going. And that's really all I've got to say. Has anyone got any questions at all about campus and how it works or anything else? No? Come and talk to me afterwards. The next speaker, Matt, I met Matt at an amazing event in Wales called the Do Lectures, which I highly recommend. It's 3 days, camping in a field with complete strangers talking about lives and trying to understand how we can all build a better world. It sounds really hippie, it's not at all, it's really amazing. And Matt, we just got talking about Pimvin and Pershore because I so rarely meet people from Pimvin or Pershore in my life. I got very excited. And Matt was like, yeah, I run this beer subscription startup from a pig farm. And I was like, God, that sounds so cool. So he's going to be talking to us tonight about why he started his company, how we can all sign up to his subscription beer service, BeerBods, and why he chose to launch it in a pig farm. Matt.